On the motion.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. All members received a copy of the report into the Sinn Fein scandal, and pinned to the front of that report is a letter from the Chief Executive of this Assembly. That letter sets the tone for how the powers that be within this building would like the report to be viewed. It is claimed that, while there has been commentary and speculation on these issues, it was important that these matters were considered in a robust way which followed due process and examined the evidence. Clearly, the report is designed to be the last word in this scandal, after which we can all move on. But is that the case? I contend that it is indisputable that this report fails on its own terms. It did not consider the matters in a robust way. It did not follow due process. It did not examine the evidence. That, sadly, is par for the course when it comes to Stormont. So nothing I say in this debate should be viewed as personal criticism of the Chief Executive or the report's author, the Assembly's Head of Legal Services. The desire of everyone in this building to prioritise the process over the proper use of public money and indeed child protection has been obvious. Why do I say it does not consider the matters in a robust way? Well, because, as acknowledged in paragraph 81 of the report, this was a paper-based exercise. It quickly gave rise to the difficulty of how one was to establish the nature of the work carried out by members' employees in the review period. Why was it purely paper-based exercise? Why weren't the key figures involved in this affair brought in and interviewed? I see nothing within the terms of reference which limit the head of legal services to approaching his task in that way. Quite frankly, appointing an insider from within the Assembly system was the wrong call, assuming, of course, that one wanted to get to the truth of the matter. The mindset which underlies everything in the report is spelt out clearly in paragraph 117. Miss O'Neill has been a Northern Ireland First Minister since 2011, becoming Deputy First Minister in 2020 and First Minister in 2024, in which period there is no record of any complaint under the Ministerial Code of Conduct or Assembly Members' Code of Conduct against her being upheld. The report's author might as well have gone on to add, and who am I to question her integrity now or make a finding against her? The truth is that there was plenty of evidence to lead one to conclude that Sinn Fein, including Miss O'Neill, were involved in using public funds meant for constituency offices to fund their press operation. When on the 7th of October, Miss O'Neill addressed this House while reading from a prepared statement that stated, "The issues that have arisen over recent days result primarily from the actions of two former press officers." One would imagine that given the level of controversy and press attention which the matter had attracted, that every word in that statement would have been carefully chosen. Yet in paragraph 81, the report claims the suggestion that Mr McGlinchey and Mr McMonagle were not carrying out work for the members by which they were employed, but were carrying out work for a political party has a limited evidential base. Essentially, it follows from media reports and a statement in this Assembly by the First Minister in which they are referred to as press officers. One would have thought that given the wonderful character reference for Miss O'Neill from the Head of Legal Services, that an appearance by her in this House in which she described Mr McGinley as a press officer would be the end of the matter. But no, you see, the report's author cannot avoid the fact that one of the individuals described by the First Minister as a press officer, Mr McGinley, was employed via a fund intended to cover constituency office costs. That, of course, flies in the face of the Assembly Member's Office and staffing costs and allowances determination, which states the purpose of this is not to A, allow political parties to benefit from staff costs incurred by members, or B, allow resources made available to members for the exercise of functions as members being used for other political activities. It is clear from this report that both Mr McGlinchey and Mr McMonagle were employed not through the financial assistance to political parties scheme, but by members of this House. Mr McGinley by Declan McAleer from 2018 to 2024, as detailed in paragraphs 86 to 96 of the report. Mr McMonagle was employed by the MP for West Tyrone, Miss Begley, the now First Minister, Miss O'Neill, and the Sinn Fein press offices, and supposedly working a staggering 75 hours a week. The head of legal services, in his strongest criticism in the report, tells us that it strains credibility in paragraph 113 to suggest Sinn Fein was unaware of this situation. But he goes on to claim that the fault lay with McMonagle, who has been referred to the PSNI. I carry no candle for Mr McMonagle, but to conduct a review into his conduct and to have findings against him which result in a police complaint without so much as contacting him, or indeed either of the other two press officers named in this report, to get their side of the story, does not, to use the Chief Executive's phrase, follow due process. Nor did it consider the matters in a robust way. At no point did the author of this report ask if McMonagle and McGinley worked out of the Sinn Fein press office in Stormont or an MLA room. At no point did he pick up on the fact that one of McMonagle's supposed duties for Miss O'Neill, according to the job description reproduced in paragraph 105 of the report, was preparing and developing assembly questions. Members, at no point during her employment of McMonagle could Miss O'Neill even table assembly questions. Finally, this report did not examine the evidence. The head of legal services dismisses Miss O'Neill's description of Mr McMonagle as a press officer. He even manages to gloss over the fact that Sinn Féin's in-house newspaper, Republican News, describes him as such. But I want to take us to one of the most startling paragraphs in this report, paragraph 82. I considered asking media representatives in Parliament buildings about how they perceived the role of these members' employees. However, such evidence would be no more than anecdotal, and the probative value of such recollections against the view of the employing members and the records held by the Assembly Commission's Finance Office would be limited. Members, we know that in that respect, this report is wrong. I say that so definitively because of the article by Sam McBride published in the Belfast Telegraph on Saturday the 18th of January, where he cites the Sinn Féin Press Office Christmas Rota for 2020, issued on the 22nd of December 2020. Over a 13-day period, McMonagle covers 3 days, the same number of days as Mr McGlinchey, and indeed the head of Sinn Féin press operation in the United Kingdom. This report is so desperate to escape the inescapable conclusion, which the evidence points to, that money which MLAs should be using to provide a service to their constituents was being funnelled into Sinn Féin press operations. Mr Deputy Speaker, the contention that such a gross abuse of public money would not be picked up by a more extensive process of audit now that the system employed by Sinn Féin has been exposed to an extent in this report, as argued in paragraph 70 of the report, as an insult to auditors. There is no reason why the questions obviously ignored by this report, the public statements that McMonagle and McGlinchey were press officers, the published articles in which McMonagle was described as a press officer, whether McMonagle even worked out of an MLA office and not a party office in this building, etc. These questions could feature as part of such an audit to prevent a repeat of this scandal reappearing in future. Public perception of this place has been trashed. We have an opportunity today to back this motion, re-look at what way public monies are spent in this place, put in an extensive audit that will make sure this scandal never reappears again. Members, I trust because of the public money involved and the perception that this report has caused, that you will support this motion before us